Welcome back to my channel. Celeb Buzz, please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates.
Sterling Hayden names the gay actor's untold Hollywood he dated in secret. Sterling Hayden was born Sterling Walter on March 26, 1916. In Montler, New Jersey, he was originally named Sterling Walter. His early years were shaped by tragedy and transformation. After his father's untimely death, his mother remarried, and Sterling took his stepfather's surname, Hayden. Even as a coog, he showed signs of the adventurous spirit that would later define his life. From a young age, Hayden harbored dreams not of stardom, but of sailing and exploration. He dropped out of high school and took to the sea as a teenager, eventually becoming a shipmate, and later a captain. In his early 20s, sailing wasn't just a phase for him. It was his first true calling. He traveled widely, captaining schooners across oceans, gaining a deep respect for the sea's untamed beauty and jagged. Seafaring experience made a central passion through the thus life, a refuge he would always return to. When disillusioned by Hollywood's artifice, Hayden's path to acting was the most accidental. With his striking 6'5" frame, rugged good looks, and natural charisma, he was spotted by Paramount Pictures executives who offered him a contract, despite his lack of acting experience. In the 1940s, he was marketed as the most beautiful man in the movie stand, quickly rose to prominence. His early films, such as Virginia, 1941, and Bahama Passage, 1941, showcased his strong presence. But even then, he resisted being boxed into the role of a conventional Matina idol. Houston referred to acting as something headed for money, not fulfillment, and accessory evil to fund his true passions. When World War II erupted, Hayden put his promising film career on hold and enlisted in the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA under the alias John Hamilton. He was involved in covert operations behind enemy lines in Europe and the Balkans, supplying resistance fighters in Yugoslavia. And didn't his war service was not only dangerous, but immensely heroic. Here Ned Silver, star in the Bronze Arrowhead, for his bravery, the experience deeply affected him both politically and personally, shaping his lifelong skepticism of authority and inspiring his later socialist leanings. After the war, Hayden returned to Hollywood, but found it increasingly hard to reconcile his personal convictions with the industry's demands. In 1951, amid the Red Scare, he was subpoenaed to testify before the House Un-American Activities Committee, whose having briefly joined the Communist Party in the post-war years, he reluctantly complied and named names of other alleged communists. He later described this as the great shame of his life, a betrayal he deeply regretted. The guilt haunted him for years and fueled Makova's writing, including his celebrated autobiography, Wanderer 1963, which chronicled not just his adventures but also his inner torment, political disillusion, and struggle for authenticity in a conformist world. Despite, or perhaps because of his complicated relationship with Hollywood, Hayden delivered some of the most unforgettable performances of the 1950s and 1960s. She brought a stoic, smoldering, intensitito roles in classic films such as the Asphalt Jungle 1950, where he played a doomed criminal in John Huston's Grit Noir, and Stanley Kubrick's The Killing 1956, a tense heist thriller that remains a masterpiece of its genre. One of his most iconic roles came in Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, 1964, in which he portrayed the paranoid General Jack D. Ripper with terrifying conviction and dry satire. Performance it still resonates in its documentary on Cold War madness. Later he appeared in The Godfather, 1972, as the corrupt police captain McCluskey, adding gravitas and menace to a role thought became pivotal in one of cinema's greatest films. In addition to his film work, Hayden explored roles in television arena that was rapidly expanding. During the 1970s, she appeared on the Canadian science fiction TV series The Star. Lost a show, I've sewed a show of attemptably fiction with philosophical. The allowing Hayden to engage with material that was somewhat off the beaten path compared to his usual tough guy roles. The series was ambitious but short-lived, yet it demonstrated Hayden's willingness to experiment with different genres and media. Around the same time, he also appeared on Banachek, an American detective series starring George Pepper, which was popular for its blend of mystery and humor. These television roles, sometimes brief, helped Hayden maintain visibility in the entertainment industry. During a period when many OFI's contemporaries struggled to find work out, the late 1970s and into the early 1980s, Hayden continued to return to feature films, balancing both major and smaller productions. He appeared in King of the Gypsies 1978, drama exploring the lives and traditions of a Romani family, which allowed him to tap into his ability to portray complex, layered characters. Following year, he was seen in Winter Kills 1979, a dark political thriller filled with intrigue and conspiracy. It suited Hayden's gravitas and brooding screen persona. In 1980, he starred in The Outsider, a film that further showcases talent for portraying outsiders and conflicted men. That same year, he made a notable appearance, a comedy 9 to 5, which was a commercial and critical hit starring Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Dolly Parton. Though his role was smaller, his involvement in such a high-profile project illustrated his adaptability and relevance in Hollywood's changing landscape. Continuing his work into 1981, Hayden acted in Gas, a satirical comedy about a gas shortage, and Venom, a horror thriller that once again showed his versatility in tackling different film genres. He also participated in the television miniseries The Blue and the Gray 1982, which was a Civil War epic underscoring Hayden's enduring appeal, a son actor capable of embodying strong authoritative figures in historical dramas. Despite his ongoing professional work, Hayden's life was not without its controversy. 1981, he was arrested at Toronto International Airport for possession of shish, a moment that revealed a more rebellious and unconventional side-off actor consistent with his image as a man who often lived by his own rules. This incident garnered media attention and added another layer to his complex public persona as an iconoclast who defied Hollywood's norms beyond acting. Hayden was also a talented writer, and his literary pursuits earned him respect and financial success in their own right. 1963, he published his autobiography Wanderer, a candid and deeply personal life, career, and inner struggles. The book was acclaimed for its honesty and vivid storytelling, allowing readers an intimate glimpse into the life of a man who had experienced both glamour of Hollywood and the harsh realities of personal demons over. A decade later, in 1976, Hayden released a novel titled Voyage, fictional work that drew on his own experiences at sea and love of travel. Both books were not only critically praised, but also commercially successful, and Hayden once noted that they had made him a lot of money. However, he also lamented how much of these earnings were lost to taxes, a reminder of the financial challenges that even successful artists often face. In 1983, the story of Sterling Hayden's extraordinary life was captured in the documentary Pharaohs of Chaos. This film provided an in-depth look at his multifaceted career, his adventures as a sailor and wanderer, and his philosophical outlook on life. It served as a tribute to a man who had lived boldly and uniquely, capturing the imagination of audiences who saw him as more than just a Hollywood star, but as a symbol of freedom and nonconformity. Yet Hayden's heart was never truly in acting. He remained a reluctant star. Often escaping Hollywood for the sea, he purchased a barge in Europe and lived with his family on the canals of France. A bohemian lifestyle. He authored several works, most notably Voyage, a novel of 1896, a sprawling maritime epic that reflected D's profound knowledge of nautical life and history. His writing, like his life's, was infused with a sense of romantic rebellion and unvarnished truth. Sterling Hayden was a man of contradictions and actor who scorned fame, a patriot haunted by his own choices. A seafarer married in show business, he struggled with depression, alcohol, and alienation. Yet he also displayed fierce independence, intellectual honesty, and poetic insight. He was not just a movie star, but a philosopher in disguise, amateur day Odysseus, searching for meaning beyond the camera's lens. Sterling Hayden's personal life, much like his professional journey, was layered with complexity, emotion, and significations that shaped the course of his private world. His first marriage was to the elegant and accomplished British actress Melanie Carroll, a celebrated star of both British and American cinema during the 1930s and 1940s. Carroll is known for her refined beauty and memorable performances in films such as Alfred Hitchcock's The 39 Steps. 1935 brought an air of sophistication to their union. Although their marriage was relatively brief, it garnered public attention due to the prominence of both stars. The relationship, however, ultimately proved unsustainable, perhaps casualty of the pressures of fame, therapies of Hollywood life, or differing personal trajectories there. His marriage ended in divorce, but it marked a poignant chapter in Hayden's early post-war years as he transitioned from soldier back to actor in 1947. Sterling Hayden entered into his second and more enduring marriage with Betty Ann Danoon, a former actress who had become the mother of 4 of his children. Their union was passionate but tumultuous, characterized by deep emotional intensity and at times profound discord. Hayden and Danoon's relationships played out amid the backdrop of post-World War II America, during a time when Hayden was grappling with his own ideological transformation, controversial involvement with the Communist Party, and his subsequent assembly before the House Un-American Activities Committee, who a decision that taunted him for years. Together, Hayden and Betty Ann raised 4 children: Christian, Dana, Gretchen, and Matthew, in a household that was both intellectual veteran and often strained by the burden of Hayden's internal conflicts and threat of his restless spirit. The couple eventually divorced, and their custody battles became bitter and widely publicized, deeply affecting Hayden Hussaw's fatherhood as one of the few constants in his otherwise turbulent existence. In 1960, Hayden found a measure of stability and renewed domestic peace when he married Catherine Devine McConnell, a woman who remained by his side for the rest of his life. Their marriage endured through the shifting sands of Hayden's later years, including his seafaring adventures, bouts of depression, and his gradual withdrawal from the Hollywood spotlight. With Catherine, Hayden had 2 more children, Andrew and David, and he seemed to settle into a quieter rhythm of family life, often retreating to his cherished husband and later to his home in Sausalito, California. Catherine, known for her supportive nature and steady demeanor, more provided the emotional grounding that Hayden had long yearned for. Their marriage spanned over 2 decades, lasting until Hayden's death in 1986. In his final years, despite declining health, Hayden was often surrounded by his children and grandchildren, finding a semblance of peace in the very institution family that had once seemed elusive during the peak of his film career and ideological struggles. In the later years of his life, as Sterling Hayden grew more reflective and candid, began to speak more openly about the emotional complexities of his past, including aspects of his personal life that he had long kept hidden due to the prevailing social and professional climate of old Hollywood. Among the most shocking and illuminating revelations hemmed in private conversations and unpublished notes was the fact that Hugh carried on romantic and sexual relationships with several prominent male actors during the 1940s and 1950s. Relationships that were kept strictly secret due to the ruthless intolerance of homosexuality in that era. While Hayden had long been known as a rugged, masculine figure, his chiseled features commanding presence making him a staple of war films and noir classics. Beneath that exterior was a man in deep conflict with the rigid expectations imposed upon male actors in Hollywood's golden age. According to those close to him, Hayden allegedly named actor Clifton Webb as one of his earliest secret companions in the industry. Webb, widely rumored to be gay, though he never officially came out, was known for his elegance and wit, often cast in aristocratic or acerbic roles despite their public personas. Peering worlds apart, Webb urbane and theatrical, Hayden gruff and seafaring, they shared a mutual understanding of the double lives they led. It is said that their relationship was marked by long philosophical conversations about art, masculinity, and the loneliness of being together in a world where the camera-minded illusions and the studio bases dented silence. Hayden also spoke with tenderness about his complicated connect with Anthony Perkins, the brooding young actor best known for his role in Psycho. While their affair allegedly occurred years before Perkins's fame peaked, Hayden described him as sensitive, introspective, and burdened by internal shame instilled by the pressures of fame, and his devout preaching date meetings were infrequent and always cloaked in secrecy, held in secluded homes in Laurel Canyon or discreet desert getaways in Palm Springs. Hayden would later admit that despite fear surrounding such encounters, there was an aching beauty in those stolen moments of vulnerability. Without the man who understood the same silent torment, He also mentioned that he had a brief bet, emotionally intense liaison with Salman Moe, the tragic young star of Rebel, without a cause, unlike the others, and now as part of a younger, more defan generation. One less inclined to play by the old rules, but still forced into the shadows by the industry's quiet tyranny. Hayden described Mono as brave, reckless and haunted, and admitted to feeling both protective of and drawn to his emotional energy there. Connection, while short-lived, left a lasting imprint on Hayden, especially as Mono's career faltered and his life ended in violence years later. Sterling Hayden's reflections did not come from a place of tabloid gossip, but from a deep, well-off introspection and remorse. For having lived parts of his life in fear and for the people he loved, who were never publicly acknowledged in the end, his willingness to name Svisman was not a betrayal, but a bittersweet tribute to the hidden loves that shaped him, and to the lives that remained forever in the shadows of the silver screen. Hayden died of prostate cancer in Celcello in 1986, age